They say college is the best 4 years of your life, and if you're a student athlete at Temple, you're provided with no shortage of opportunities to make memories that will last a lifetime. For Temple's men's basketball players, they will someday share with their children stories of the summer of 2013 and their team's unforgettable trip across the Atlantic.
I'm hoping that we can get to the catacombs. Both Paris and Rome have underground tunnels. They're absolutely amazing. And you read about this in Paris as well. There must be hundreds of miles of space and tunnels. Actually, you even have what is called the City of the Dead underground in Paris.
It's an amazing opportunity that doesn't come around every year, but for a team that went from veteran to youthful overnight, there is no better time to take an international trip like this one than now. The Owls will play 4 games in their 10-day journey to France and Italy, but it's a trip about much more than basketball. And before they take flight to Europe, they're taking class stateside to prepare them for all the history that will come alive in person.
I hope you guys had at least some sense of what we're going to see and what we're going to do, and get a feel for these cities, the ancientness of the cities. Now, as I said to you, there's always this conflict between ancient and modern, and you will feel that more than ever in a place like Rome.
Paris is one of the most famous cities in the world, and following a near 7-hour flight, the Owls immediately began to take in Parisian culture, spending the entire first day in France exploring some of the most famous architecture in history. Temple is taking in all the sights they've read about in history books, beginning with the Arc de Triomphe, a colossal monument that honors those who fought and died in the French Revolutionary Wars. The tour takes the Owls past the Eiffel Tower, where the players stop to take dozens of what will become hundreds of pictures by the time they return to America. But it's not until the evening when the team really gets the sense of just how much culture is contained within the city limits of Paris. It's a relaxing drift along the River Seine to conclude a busy first day, and the river cruise offers up a chance to see some magnificent sights, ranging from the Notre Dame Cathedral to the famed Eiffel Tower sparkling in the distance, to the dozens of iconic bridges that connect the left and right banks of the city. Just as amazing is the sight at street level, where from the water you could see thousands of people enjoying each other's company, and the company of the excitement created by street vendors, musicians, and artists.
Day one has been tremendous. We've just been traveling, seeing different sights, eating some different food. We was able to walk down the strip and just, see all the different types of, stores that they have, just like in the U.S., but we're all trying to figure out what we want to buy, what we want to get, but we just all having fun with each other. I took French for 2 years. Kind of wish I took it, more seriously back then. But I never thought I would be, in France after taking the language, and then playing basketball over here. It's just, unbelievable.
That's what Coach Dunn kind of tells you when he recruits you, that you're going to get to do a lot of things that I guess you would say normal people don't get to do. So it's a great feeling when you actually get to do those things and go to these places like Paris and going to Italy and going to play in the crazy arena like Kansas in the Madison Square Garden, which you grew up looking at like a kid. So that's just like those places just make you really appreciate playing basketball, and all the hard work that you've done since you were a young kid pays off in the end.
The Owls are in France for the first half of their 10-day tour of Europe, and early on they've gotten an opportunity to immerse themselves in Parisian culture. But another important goal of the trip is to begin to develop some chemistry on the court, as the roster has a much different makeup than last year's squad.
1, 2, 3, yeah.
This afternoon pits Temple against the local pro team Évreux. In the first of 2 games they'll play in France. This is the first game against live competition for the new group of Owls, who feature 2 freshmen, guard Josh Brown and forward Mark Williams, and 3 sophomores, who all figure to play key roles when Temple opens its regular season in November. But for now, what's important for 8th-year head coach Fran Dunphy is the opportunity for his players to learn each other's tendencies on the floor, while he works to find the right pieces of the puzzle. The Owls follow up their game with Évreux with close-up visits to 2 of Paris's most recognizable landmarks. The first is the photogenic hill of Montmartre, which sits more than 400 feet high and is known for the castle-like churches on its summit, the famous artists like Monet and Picasso who once worked nearby, and its breathtaking view of the city from high atop the steps. But there may be no view in Paris more breathtaking than the view from the Owls' second destination of the evening, the second floor of the Eiffel Tower, where a spectator can see the city of lights illuminated against the night sky. Temple's final day in Paris finds them at the Louvre, the world's most famous museum. The Louvre is by far the most visited museum in the world, with more than 8 million people per year taking in its centuries worth of artifacts, sculptures, paintings, and so much more. And like thousands of others on this day, the Owls crowd around and ready their cameras for a chance to photograph the most famous portrait ever painted, the Mona Lisa.
Okay, guys, you have to Ranieri III, the former prince before this one, was married to Grace Kelly. You all should know at least the name. And they got married in the cathedral we're gonna see very soon. So this is dedicated to Princess Grace. Yeah, this is beautiful gardens. Look also on the left-hand side, there is an amazing view on the left-hand side.
After a memorable time in Paris, Temple has reached the midway point of their trip to Europe. And after a train ride through the south of France, the Owls are touring the city-state of Monaco this afternoon. Monaco is the second smallest country in the world. You can actually walk the entire length in about 45 minutes. But what makes it even more unique is its beauty, its proximity to the bordering Mediterranean Sea, and its economy, as Monaco is, per capita, the richest country in the world. It's quickly becoming one of the most popular places to visit in Europe.
You are in Florence, okay? And Florence is one of the oldest cities we do have in Italy, actually. It's really old, more than 2,000 years. Oof, it's a lot. I know it's a lot maybe for people coming from US or Australia or so on, but you know, in the old Europe you will find these old cities, which means everywhere you're walking around, actually, guys, it's full of Roman ruins.
Florence, Italy is known as the birthplace of the Renaissance. And in modern days, it has become a cultural hub for fashion and art. Just the beginning of what brings in more than 1.5 million visitors a year.
This is a theater, the Colosseum or the amphitheater is made of two theaters together. Amphi means two in Greek, two theaters together, amphitheaters, all right? And this is the Roman theater of Florence, which is still underneath. So wherever you are in downtown Florence, you're walking on top of Roman ruins. So try to imagine the incredible history of the square, then this palace made in 1299, and all the sculptures that you see around made in the 14th and in the 1500s. This is like an open area museum, like nowhere else in the world.
The tour of Florence takes the team through some of the oldest and most storied architecture in the world. But for one member of the Temple Brigade, student manager Marco Sofoni, what he'll remember from the trip runs deeper than the awe-inspiring sights, as his day is interrupted in a way he will never forget.
It was my two uncles and my aunt and my two cousins, Lauren and Andrea. I've never met them before. That was the first time meeting them. And Palazzo Vecchio is where we met up, and that's where the end of our tour was that day. And when I heard a voice say, "Where's Antonio?" and then he said, "Where's Marco?" in Italian. So I looked out and then I saw who it was. He looks exactly like my dad because they're brothers. And I went right up to him, he knew it was me. I was trying to hold in crying, but it was, there is no words how to describe it. It was just amazing.
Just as synonymous with Florence as art and architecture is the production of food and wine, two of the most important staples of the Tuscan region of Italy. And while the players are taking a midday stroll through the streets of the city, members of the coaching and support staff head to a wine tasting, where they can learn about the grapes of the region, the importance of wine production to the economy, and how to distinguish the literally hundreds of choices any wine lover in Italy has.
We have about 500 different grape varieties, indigenous grape varieties. 20% of these grapes are still from times of Romans and Etrusci, probably more than 2,000 years. We're gonna smell because our olfactory memory is amazing. It's meaning with the smelling only we could recognize very easy what grape it is. I mean, if you're good enough in this, you're gonna smell now, memorize Fiano. In 2 years, you're gonna do it to your good girlfriend sitting in a restaurant. She's gonna tell you, "Honey, what is this?" You're gonna say, "It's obvious, it's Fiano. I smelled 2 years ago and I remember." You don't finish everything. You take a little sip. After that, you're gonna eat a piece of cheese with the jam. There's the Chianti jam you put on top of the cheese, and you taste again the wine, just to see difference before and after you eat something, okay? Wine, cheese, wine. You got it? Yes.
The Pope used these gladiator fights as a way to get the people behind him. And also the more gore and the more blood that was brought to the people, the more entertained and happy the people were. As crazy as it sounds, just how it was back then.
The Owls have made it to the back leg of their trip through Europe, but there's much to be done before they head back to Philadelphia. Day 8 of the journey finds the team in Rome, a city that dates back more than 2,500 years. And the first thing they'll come to see is the famed Colosseum, the place where spectators would flock to see gladiators fight for survival in front of 80,000 pairs of eyes. Back on the basketball side of the trip, the Owls prepare for their final exhibition test against host Perugia. And in their last contest, Temple puts it all together. Temple junior forward Anthony Lee will be vital to the Owls' success this season, and he played like someone ready to take over the brunt of the responsibility, scoring 19 points to go along with 11 rebounds in Temple's convincing win. But Lee got plenty of help in this one, seeing balanced scoring efforts from guard Will Cummings and swingman Daniel Dingle.
Trying to find myself within the offense, trying to find myself within the defense, and trying to see how Coach really coaches. Because he coached me last year, but not how he coached Khalif, Scooty, and those guys. So now I'm in the position they were in. I'm just trying to get the feel for it.
I think it's like knowing where everybody is, like us knowing where each other are going to be is kind of the thing. And I mean, we've gotten better at it since we begun this trip. And I mean, since we were practicing back way when practice first started. And I feel like we're getting better with it. I mean, we made a couple mistakes today, but we made less mistakes today. It was more of the rule today, what the heck got us turnovers than us not knowing where each other were. And I mean, we were picking up for each other. And I mean, we played more like a team than ever than we've been out here. So I feel like we're coming closer.
We all are in here saying, are we getting better as a team? Are we winning the game because we're all in the right spot? We're sacrificing for one another. That's the only thing we did. That's why we're here on this trip. Are we here to enjoy the scenery and the culture of France and now Italy? Yeah, we sure are. We sure are. Are we here to bond? Yeah, we sure are. But we're learning how to be a team is the most critical piece of it.
As the trip draws closer to the end, the Owls visit the fourth and final country of the journey, the tiny yet historic Vatican City, whose city limits are enclosed within the confines of Rome. The Vatican is the smallest country in the world, but there is plenty for the team to take in, as the city that serves as home to the Pope also houses St. Peter's Basilica and the world-renowned Sistine Chapel, whose ceiling is covered by the paintings of Michelangelo, a true reminder for any of its admirers of the amazing things that just one man is able to achieve.
It's an amazing place. It's a very powerful place because it's so dynamic in terms of when you enter into the space, you get this feeling that, you're moving out of an ordinary space into something that's extraordinary. So one of the things that's powerful about coming down the Via della Conciliazione is that you move into this new space. So really, this is really kind of the very crux in the center of the Universal Church, or the Catholic Christian Church.
But perhaps no trip to Rome is complete without a visit to the Trevi Fountain. And that's where this journey will conclude.
So we're at the Trevi Fountain. We're about to throw a coin right now. 1 coin is to come back to Rome, 2 is for marriage, and 3 is to get divorced. So I'm about to throw my coin.
Want to get back?
The fountain visit is a relaxing way for the European tour to come to an end, and a perfect place to reflect on the sights of the last 10 days. The images will forever remain a part of the players' memories, who, years from now, will look back fondly at the journey they took together.
What these kids have done has just been a life-altering experience, I hope, for them, and I hope they appreciate it. I think some get it in different waves. Some will get it now, some will get it in 5 years, some that'll get it in 20 years. The Sistine Chapel is pretty spectacular. When you can get in there and just understand all of the history and all of the Catholic culture that's out there too, it's pretty extraordinary stuff. And so we were grateful to be in there. The artwork, I'd like to be hanging around Michelangelo a little bit, see what he's all about.
And I think, with the team having this opportunity, being in France, being in Italy, it gives me a new kind of boost in terms of wanting to go on and teach and talk about these places, because it energizes me, because I know I can energize them about it. I think it's a great opportunity for Temple, to have students come abroad to experience that kind of engaged learning, because I see this as really engaged learning. This is what I would call the ultimate in engaged learning, because it's not just reading about it, but it's actually participating in the very nature of the place.
The trip became a true exchanging of cultures as the Owls took in language, food, and the environment of different countries for the first time. But the other side of the coin saw European locals and international tourists take an interest in them, fascinated by the sight of an American basketball team on foreign soil. And there was plenty of opportunity for both parties to have something that they could take to remember their foreign counterparts by when they returned to their hometown.